Order.
Time? It is 6:05.
Roll call.
Director Baker?
Here.
Director Gregory?
Here.
Director Davis?
Here.
Director Collins?
Director Collins stated he's going to be about 10 minutes late.
President Smiley?
Here.
Okay. I need approval of the regular meeting agenda.
There he is.
I so moved. On motion. Second.
Gregory, aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none. Calvin's in at 6:06. Okay. You have to stay standing, mister.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance to the flag of our country.
Right hand over your heart, veterans may salute, hats off, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Public comment and communication for the items not on the agenda. Persons wishing to speak on a matter not on the agenda may be heard at this time. However, no action will be taken until placed on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Please sign in your name and address the lectern.
Thank you, Board. Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Greg Raywell. I'm from the Creston area. Sorry I couldn't attend your last meeting. My comments are on a public draft of the Paso Robles 23 annual report that was brought and talked about on February 7th at the GSA cooperative meeting, and then was told it was going to come out on the 16th of February, and then it didn't come out to the 21st, but the boards were supposed, the GSA groups were supposed to get it on February 9th. And then I was the only one public that made comments on the report, and this report then turned into a final report that was brought on March 27th, which was due to the Department of Water Resources April 1st. Not one board took this draft or took the final to their GSA boards and had public comment or approved it. Well, first you got a Brown Act violation on the draft not showing up, and why your person, whoever got it for your board, did not give it to the board members was wrong, because we would have heard comments we could have commented on before the final was made. And then when the final was done, everybody should have agreed to the final. The final should have been public comment again at a later date before this was sent to the Department of Water Resources. The county didn't take it to the county, do it. Paso Robles didn't do it. You guys didn't do it. We went on the agendas for the other two make-believe water districts. They didn't do it. And so I'm curious why we even have a cooperative group. Why do we even have members that go to it? And why did the public just show up if nobody's going to do anything and follow the rules? Why do we want to amend an MOA that everybody's breaking? And what's the purpose? In the MOA, I have it sitting over there. Your board members are, according to the MOA, the members that show up at that meeting are supposed to be on your board. In your minutes that are coming up here shortly, your general manager says that he's staff, and he gives the name that's the other staff person with him that worked on this stuff. Well, if he's staff, how can he be the alternate? It has to be a board member. The board members are the voting members. The county is doing the same thing. They have a staff member that should be on. I guess my time's up. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. You have another public comment?
Yes.
Got it. John Green. I came to talk to you about Mission Street irrigation. I'm back again. I just can't reiterate enough to you guys how bad it looks. You guys want to repair somebody else's water pipes and send all that water to the irrigation when nobody else is irrigating anymore. People are taking out their plants, people are getting rid of their yards, they're building houses now, tracks that don't have yards because they require water. It's my understanding you're spending 600, what was it?
$600 to $1,000.
A month?
A month.
$600 to $1,000 a month to water plants when you could replace them with drought tolerant. Plus, it's not your infrastructure. And I don't know what government code you were talking about. It allows you to water and weed and plant, but doesn't allow you to tear up the sidewalk and replace plumbing. It does not come out of any money. And I would urge 2 board members to bring this back to the board for further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any other public comment at this point? Okay, we'll now move on to item 6.
Mr. Chair,
Do you have something?
just to, because I know that Mr. Green has been very passionate about the landscaping in downtown, that was all notified and sent to LAFCO. And as part of our municipal service review, that is,
Are we having a conversation?
I'm responding.
No, he's
Oh,
responding.
you're looking right at me, so.
Well, I can look at it wherever you want me to look at. So, but for our government code, 61-100, section G, and also the LAFCO San Miguel Municipal Services Review that was just approved in last year, landscaping is an authority and is actually part of lighting. So that conversation is done, and how it's maintained moving forward is a discussion for the board, but it is something, making your community look better is always a nice thing. I don't think a lot of people actually would prefer to see weeds in the town, or even go back to the old days when there was a broken sidewalk, down Michigan Street that caused the poor old lunch lady to trip and fall. And also, a lot of those plants that were put in were actually put in by, where they were requested, if I'm not mistaken, by the people who were managing that sidewalk, the landscaping, Mr. Sanders. I know that they worked very hard on that original grant for those plants, so.
Okay.
I'd like to speak to another subject, if I may.
Well, we've had the 3 minutes, and he commented, so I'm going to give you 3 minutes more. Go on ahead.
Another concern is the height of the plants. I know that Kelly received an email today from the county to cut them down. Some cars, Toyota Prius, I pull up in the intersection of 12th Street, can't see in either direction because I'm too low. I have to creep out into the street. There's cars parked at an angle there. They're not parallel parked anymore. Now they're parked at an angle. So you gotta creep way out. It's not a safe condition, okay? And it still doesn't include tearing up sidewalks and replacing them. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to item 6, special presentation, public hearing. Anna? Ann? Is it Ann?
Annie.
Annie.
Yeah, technically an Ann, but I go by Annie, so thank you very much. And, appreciate being here tonight. So yeah, my name's Annie Bowski, and I'm here representing SlowCog for and a bit of an update as well. For about the past year or so, we've been working on a potential transportation tax ballot measure for November 2024. As of the past week, it was decided after we already scheduled this, but we decided to forego potentially getting the measure on the ballot for 2024, but we will continue our efforts in the future to make sure we potentially get this tax on the ballot. So we're here today, we've done about 60 meetings countywide, but this is the first time we've been in San Miguel. So we really do want to hear your feedback for a potential transportation safety plan. And if you can scroll down a little, please, a couple pages to North County, and then San Miguel should be right there. And I'll just give you a little bit background on SlowCog and kind of what we've been working on the past year. So Local Roads First is the transportation initiative we've been working on. And it's devised to generate funding at the county level to fix, repair, and update our transportation needs. And if you're not familiar with SlowCog, just a little bit of background for you all. As the regional transportation agency, SlowCog is comprised of the 7 cities along with the unincorporated areas, and we actually have one of the largest governing, or the largest governing board in the county, with a representative from each of the cities, and then the 5 county representatives sharing the unincorporated voice, including Supervisor Deschamps. And as transportation planners, SlowCog connects communities by working with local jurisdictions and allocating state and federal funding mainly generated by the gas tax. And this doesn't just include roads, it also includes buses, trains, bikes, senior shuttles, social services, and walkability, which is very important. And just a little background about how we got to this investment plan and working on a potential transportation tax measure. Basically, one of SlowCog's key responsibilities is the regional transportation plan. And back in June of 2023, the board of directors approved the 2023 RTP, and this is a 23-year outlook that projects transportation needs in the county by identifying projects, estimating population growth, and calculating needed funding. And based on countywide project needs, there's about $5.4 billion needed, but there's currently only $2.3 billion in projected revenue, leaving a $2.3 billion deficit over about a 20-year period. And kind of the reason we got to this point, as mentioned before, SlowCog predominantly relies on state and federal gas funding. And back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, there were more cars and more gallons of gas being consumed, which fed and paid to improve roads. But unfortunately, as even though the gas tax has gone up, so has vehicle efficiency paired with an increased use of EVs. And we can crunch the numbers, but we're going to continue to be in this funding deficit. And this is why SlowCog is looking for new funding opportunities. And we'll continue to do so. And just a few misconceptions about kind of the gas tax and where we're at is the gas tax at this point will repair roads. Not at this point. The state will reprioritize funds. Unfortunately, not at this point. Local funding will be reprioritized for roads. That's a maybe, maybe not, depending on who's elected. And a lot of people also think Caltrans will fix the 101, but we've had 2 major grants in 25 years. And as we search for funding, local road maintenance issues continue to persist. So basically there's the pavement index, and the city of Pismo Beach and SLO are doing pretty good. Out of 100, they're at 67 and 70. But county roads have continued to deteriorate. So back in 2013, they're at a 63. In 2017, they got back up to a 64, but they've been pretty stagnant at a 60 during the last run of the estimated road maintenance, which was taken in 2022. And since there haven't been a lot of improvements, we don't expect it to go up anytime soon. And additionally with that, the frustrating part is the more roads deteriorate, the more expensive they are to repair. So that's why we're looking to gain some more funding so we can maintain roads consistently so they're not as expensive to repair as they deteriorate. And just a little contextual background, basically our neighboring counties have self-assessed along with many other counties within California, and they've added a transportation tax to the ballot measure, which has passed. So 89% of Californians live in 25 counties that have a dedicated sales tax to transportation, and this includes all of our neighbors. San Benito County passed a 30-year sunset tax back in 2018. Monterey passed one back in 2016, and Santa Cruz passed one back in 2016 as well. And just for a little bit of reference, one of the biggest things we can do at the state with additional funding for roads is leverage more money. So kind of the old adage, it takes money to make money. And just a little anecdote from Santa Cruz. Both Santa Cruz and SLO went after state competitive grants. Our SLO County population is a little bit higher. We put in $12 million and we received leverage funding of $36 million back for the region, where Santa Cruz, for a similar project, used their sales tax funding to put in $32 million, and they actually received $115 million back from Sacramento. So we can't compete at this level, and winning low amounts takes the same as winning high amounts, which is why we're in search of additional funding. And just to wrap up before I kind of dig into the investment plan here, for San Luis Obispo, we're proposing a half-cent sales tax, which would raise approximately $35 million per year. Over the 20-year period, we used to leverage over $1 billion back from Sacramento. And it would be protected from Sacramento, so it would only stay within the county. It would speed up project delivery, which reduces costs, and it would guarantee every penny goes to transportation. And it also contains safeguards. So no sunset date, and only 1% maximum would be used for administrative costs, and it would finally ensure that tourists provide their fair share for the roads that they use. And you guys can pick up some of these copies if you'd like, but just a little breakdown. If anyone remembers Measure J, that did not pass back in 2016 by about 400 votes. And basically the feedback we received is that the funding distribution was a little challenging to understand. So what we've done is broken, would you mind scrolling up a tiny bit, please? A little bit more, please. A little bit more. Halfway up the next page, if you don't mind, please. That's perfect, please. So basically, we're estimating over 20 years, this tax would collect about $700 million, and it'd be broken down based on the 4 sub-regions. And North County would receive approximately, North County would receive approximately $246 million, which is of course 35%. And what that would garner for San Miguel is approximately $9 million. So what we're here to do today is kind of hear your thoughts. We would be kind of spending the funding on is road repairs and safety improvements along Mission Street. And then there's an additional 18 million designated for unincorporated areas. So we would like to hear what key projects you guys would like on this draft investment plan. And although it won't be implemented in 2024, we're working to get something on the ballot in 2026. And we'd also come back again to review and get your support for this. So we don't need to know now, but if you want to speak at your next meeting or anything along those lines, we're happy to take that feedback for this draft investment plan to ensure your community gets what you want.
Thank you. So, anybody have a question for Ann?
For Annie?
Annie?
Either one.
Anna? Annie?
I don't have a question, I have a comment.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Well, Just so much.
It's a lot of information.
I just find that vehemently offensive that we have to continue to collect additional tax from ourselves when we have already been taxed to death. And we drive a lot in the state. We're a big state. We spend a lot of money on fuel. All of us do. From point A to point B. The half-cent sales tax, why half cent? Make it a cent, make it 5 cents. It doesn't matter, we're taxed so much. I think it's probably, you know, I'm not in favor of this kind of stuff because I think that the problem with our government, and, you know, I realize you're just the messenger, but the problem with our government is that they are addicted to opium, with people's money. So when you do a budget, or when you're trying to rein in, you know, a project, it's not just getting the income, but it's also controlling those expenses. So we could throw tons and tons and tons of money at this, but if those expenses aren't reined in, you know, they're going to come back and ask for more and ask for more. I will say that if this does go through though, what San Miguel needs most is all their utilities down on Mission Street. Right down the center, not in the alleys. Absolutely 100%, because that's what has killed our downtown core and made it difficult for any developer to come in because the utilities aren't there. So,
And that's something unfortunately we wouldn't be able, as far as like electricity and...
it's not electricity, it's some of the other infrastructure. But maybe with all of the government entities that they can pull together and do something. Again, I'm not for this half cent. I think we've spent enough. There's plenty of money going around. I mean, just like that roundabout out there at, and this is, I don't know if this is factual, but I had heard that Newsom pulled the funds away from that for his railroad to nowhere, and then for a time, and then it came back again, and then it started up again. So I don't trust our governor, and I don't trust, you know, any of that stuff. I feel like, you know, we're always the one that's been left out. But that is the problem with this community, is that we have a great empty open space downtown core, and the utilities are difficult to access. So if it's going to get repaved, it needs to have those infrastructures in place first. So maybe there needs to be something we can do there. I don't know.
And just for clarity,
Yes.
all this funding would be from the county and stay in the county. So
Promise?
it would not be, yeah, there's no way it can go anywhere else. So it would be collected, and there's 25 other counties who have done this self-assessment, so you can check with them and make sure that their money hasn't gone, just for clarity. So I know with the gas tax is frustrating because it comes from the state and federal, but this is something where we'd be self-assessing for our own kind of independence.
So when the county is appropriating money, where's roads right now on their hierarchy of needs?
So from my understanding, I know it made big news that they did not make roads a priority, but the funding has stayed the same over the years, and that's one thing that we've heard quite a bit, and that we, as taking feedback from what we've heard from around the county, is that people weren't clear on. So road funding has stayed the same over the years. It just wasn't put on kind of the list of top priorities.
Right, so it seems, in my opinion, the government most importantly should fund public safety, our fire, our sheriffs, and roads, and they don't, right? What's the number one funding top of the list in this county? Homelessness. So the roads go to pot, they create a problem, and then they come to the taxpayer and say, oh, if you want your roads fixed, you gotta pay more. If you wanna fund your sheriff department, you need to pay more. If you wanna fund your fire, you need to pay more. I think it's really outrageous. You know, the state, what is the news we got, was it last week or the week before? $24 billion for homelessness that they can't account for. $24 billion. It's incredible. All they've done with that $24 billion is made the problem worse. You know, homelessness is a big business in this state. These NGOs, they're the ones that are getting rich off this deal. And it's, you know, and it's just coming to the people and saying, you know, pay more. The way this government spends money again, public safety, ignored, roads, ignored. It's outrageous to me. So I would be incredibly opposed to additional tax, given the way that this Board of Supervisors, the state spends our money. I mean, it's just, like, again, they create problems, and then they say they will give more money to solve it. And it's the number one thing that they should be providing for the community, they ignore. And say, oh, if you want your roads fixed, you gotta pay more. You want to support our sheriff or our fire, you gotta pay more. It's just outrageous.
And I unfortunately can't speak for the state.
Yeah, I know, but still. Yeah, you know, and they're looking at we're close to $73 billion deficit, so I don't know how much matching funds we're gonna be, you know, coming down the road in the next few years too. But, you know, again, 24 billion, no, we had 34 billion in unemployment funds that went out, they can't account for from COVID. I mean, it's just, it's crazy, the general corruption and stuff that goes on in the state, and it just put the hammer on the taxpayer. It's just again and again with most heavily taxed people that are our gas taxes are the highest in the nation, and yet our roads are just, like you said, when we know it, because they're ignored, they have different priorities. Again, like Brenda said, you're just the messenger.
And we're trying to solve some county problems, so, but it is complex.
Yeah, well, they had roads at the top of the list, or they had fire and safety at the top of the list, and then roads. And they've been doing it for years and years. You might get a little more sympathy, but when, you know, roads are way at the bottom and homeless is way at the top. We've got, like I said, $24 billion spent since 2018 on the homeless, and all we've done is the problem's just mushroomed. It just gets worse and worse every year. And now it's like, oh yeah, pay more tax to fix the roads.
Okay, that concludes your remarks.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have some interest in it?
I have a couple, but I'm just going to lead off with one for at this moment. Annie, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with the Wellzona crossing?
Yeah, and you're Anthony, correct?
Yes, I am.
Thank you for the email you sent this morning. We appreciate it. And John wrote a great response, and I'll email Tamara that link as well. So basically, I know people personally who like passed away at the intersection, and obviously it's very upsetting, I'm sure, for you guys as well. But Caltrans, there was, and excuse my lack of technicality, and this is all on the Caltrans project website, so they have it all right now. But I believe they're about to break ground. The project's going to be an underpass for about $13.5 million. It's already approved. The CTC, which is the state kind of the California Transportation Commissioner, is basically had an issue with the truck stop owner, so it got delayed about a month or so, but they were able to negotiate with him and figure out a solution to the problem. And it's funded more by state and federal funding, so it had been on SLOCOM's list for a long time, but thankfully, not thankfully, but of course due to the issues there, it did get moved up on the priority list. So it will be in construction, I believe, late fall. And I'm happy to send you the link on that with the full information.
Okay. I known the same 30 kids from preschool to 8th grade, and 20% of my graduating 8th grade class has either been killed or seriously injured at that intersection. Several people in this room have either been in accidents at the intersection or have known someone that's been in an accident. I don't need to be looking at a person in the audience, but I do know that he was seriously hurt at one point. So it's been a very tough intersection, and even our fire department responds a lot out there. So we talk about, like Director Baker brought up, public safety, roads. That intersection is a priority because it's been so dangerous for our community, especially the amount of growth that's coming out in this community, because a lot of people are moving out here because of the affordability crisis. So seeing that get done is something that would be a very big priority for this community. The other thing also I wanted to bring up is in regards to Director Gregory's comments about the downtown. One of the biggest hurdles on the east side of Mission Street is the fact there is no sidewalk, and so that is actually a factor that prevents development on that side of the Mission Street corridor. There's also several gaps in the sidewalks around our community. Specifically, our tourist hub is Mission San Miguel, and the sidewalk is not complete between the Mission and our downtown core. I've even brought up the fact that there's no crosswalk between the Bell Tower and the Rios Caledonia, where the speed limit is 55 miles an hour on a blind corner, and County Public Works has told me repeatedly that they aren't going to put anything over there, and someone gets hit, pretty much, oh well. So, there are, regardless of my own personal feelings about the tax and all that stuff, if the tax does get passed, those are some big things, I would like to see for our communities, because I was born and raised here. A lot of kids used to play in the streets. It's not safe, People go whizzing down Mission Street at 55 miles an hour. I think I already mentioned to John about traffic calming measures, along Mission Street as well. So people aren't doing 55 down that main corridor, so.
And can I ask, the Mission Street sidewalk, I live in Paso, so I'm not super familiar, but what streets are those between approximately?
So where we're missing sidewalk, we don't have any sidewalk on the east side of Mission between 11th and 14th Street. And then there's also no sidewalk on the west side between 9th and, I guess it's what I call the Regional Park, would be the best.
Between 9th Street and San Luis Obispo.
Yeah.
Conclude your witness.
Yeah, I think so.
Owen?
Thank you.
Just the only comment that I have is, I'm totally opposed to any tax rate. All you gotta do is look around. Just look at Paso Robles. They had a 1% tax increase to fix the roads. They haven't done nothing, So, why would anybody be in support of a tax increase? The way they spend our money. And just like Ms. Gregory said, they say they'll do a tax increase to improve the roads, and that money is gone bye-bye somewhere else. So I'm totally opposed to any tax increase.
And just for clarification, referring to, say, the Paso tax, that's a 50% general fund